Stands, I hope you're doing well. It's the start of a new day and it's the start of a new Manchester United, because finally we can move forward with some sense of purpose and direction and continuity and momentum. And look, I think it does feel this morning like we're waking up with that clarity, optimism for most of us. So much to get into. I mean, look, amongst everything that happened last night, apparently Juventus are very close to here we go with Mason Greenwood, which is a player heading out. It's money coming in. And I do suspect that we will. Well, look, we've got a 2 o'clock show where we have a brand new hotometer being prepared. So we've got all that to look forward to as well. But let's delve into the aftermath of last night and what will now be. You know, I know there's people arguing still on social media because they lost or they won or etc. Not really interested. For me, the number one priority for this summer transfer window, when I was asked in January, was clearing out the deadwood and bringing in new players. And we've not been able to do that with this managerial uncertainty. Now we can. That's all I'm interested in. I'm not interested in, you know, haha, you lost. Well done, we won. I mean, I did tweet the mainstream who are still trying to... I mean, you wake up this morning, there's an article from Sky, I'm sure TalkSport are at it. Have Man United made the right decision? Shut up. Shut up. The reason you look so stupid is because you never listened. And no one is more stupid than the people that don't listen. Why would you put polls out or articles out or call-ins on whether Man United made the right decision if you already know the majority of Man United fans want Ten Hag to stay? All you're going to get are rival fans or the bitter minority calling in, screaming and shouting. They don't represent the majority. The majority of United fans wanted Ten Hag to stay. That always was the case. So asking if people are happy about it, you're just going to get the vocal minority. And I wish people would stop sending me clips of people who wanted Ten Hag out. I don't watch their stuff. I'm not interested in watching other stuff. Yes, I've seen the first couple of seconds and they look very, very miserable. But I'm not interested because the minute I say anything about that, they'll use me for clicks and content. And I'm not interested. I don't watch their stuff. I'm not interested. It's hard work. Good luck. Crack on with you. I ain't interested in that. All I would say to any YouTuber, website, Twitter account that is still moaning about Ten Hag, get yourself on OnlyFans. Because you've been screwing yourself for the last 2 months. And if you're going to carry on screwing yourself, you may as well learn from it. Because you need to wake up and smell the coffee. You lost. You did lose. We lost in not getting a full sale. And we moved on. You've got to move on. Because you're screwing yourself now. Screaming and shouting, it's not going to change anything. The decision has been made. We are going to stick with Erik Ten Hag. And look, I've said this a couple of times. I don't know how the world works for everybody. But... I said after the Coventry game, I said after the Brentford game, there seem to be a lot of people that have lost their enjoyment of what support is. Like, if I said to those people, go and support another club because it doesn't look to me like you support Man United, they don't know who to go and support because they say they support Man United. Yet with the manager, you say, well, tell us the manager that you want to replace Ten Hag. They don't know. They're confused people. I think it's sad. I think they've lost the joy of supporting a football club. I've seen the reactions to Brentford on social media. I've seen the reactions to Coventry on social media. And people seem to have lost the fundamental ability to enjoy your football club winning. And if you don't enjoy your football club winning, then you are lost. And maybe go back to basics. It shouldn't come with a condition. I support this club if they get rid of the manager. I'll support this club if they get rid of a certain player. That should be your fundamental base. Supporting the team. The team name. I'm not talking about individuals or the manager. You should always want Man United to win, and they just seem to be miserable. I don't get it. I think now is going to be a positive time. And I think, look, moving on from all that, because there are still people moaning this morning, get on with it. Life lesson. You don't always win. You don't always win. I didn't want David Moyes. I'll be honest, I didn't want David Moyes, but I gave him a chance. I certainly didn't want the Glazers to stay. We've just got to crack on with it. I didn't want to watch Old Trafford rust for 20 years and it get knocked down and we go to a new stadium. It's going to happen. You lost. And I'm not saying in a lost, you lost in a way, or up yours. You didn't get your own way. Deal with it. Move on. But ultimately, we're meant to all support the same team. And I suspect some of these people are out there in their head. They can't wait for the first game of the season and they're hoping that we lose so they can start saying, I told you so. I told you so isn't supporting Man United. And I think that's what people need to realise. It's coming across now as I told you so. I told you so is not supporting Man United. That's supporting yourself. You're putting your opinion ahead of Manchester United. I want Man United to win. I always want us to win. The only time I didn't want it was when, well, I sort of questioned it, was towards the end of Van Gaal. But when we got to the FA Cup final, I was like, I don't want to lose this. And I've been critical of Ten Hag. I have been critical of Ten Hag. I'm not, I have been critical. I think everybody has. When he took Garnacho off at half time and kept Rashford on, and Garnacho liked my tweet. That wasn't pro Ten Hag, was it? When he took Mainu off at the City ground just after Christmas and brought McTominay on and we lost. That wasn't pro Ten Hag. He's made mistakes. And he'll make mistakes next year. But I support the team. I support the manager. I support Manchester United. I want us to win. And the most exciting thing for me this morning is that the clear out will now begin. The transfer plans will now kick in. I'm hearing that the Elise deal may not be dead. I mean, that is very early, but I'm hearing that deal might not be dead. Now, we'll have to wait and see, because I tell you what, if INEOS can pull the Elise deal off now, we are really cooking. And just on INEOS as well, before we get into that, I've seen people on Twitter say that people who wanted Ten Hag to get sacked are now calling INEOS Glazers 2.0 for keeping Ten Hag. You can't claim that. You're not having that. You can't take what we've said and turn it for your story. Because I saw these same accounts a few days ago saying fans shouldn't be putting pressure onto INEOS. They're going to make the right decision and we should just respect it. And that's because they thought INEOS were going to sack Ten Hag. And they're there on Twitter typing away saying, we should be backing INEOS. They're professional people. They know what they're on about. This is Barada, this is Sir Jim, this is Sir David, this is Dan Ashworth. These people know what they're on about, and fans shouldn't be listened to, and they should just crack on and do what they want to do because they are the future, right? They were saying that because they thought Ten Hag was getting sacked. The minute Ten Hag stays, what the fuck are INEOS doing? Glazers 2.0. What are they doing? Listening to fans. Well, how can you swivel from your principles just because you didn't get what you want? We were saying Glazers 2.0 if they sack Ten Hag, because that's what the Glazers do. They don't listen to fans. They were going to take us into a Super League. They've let the stadium rust and rot so that it's going to basically need to get knocked down. They sacked Mourinho. They sacked Ollie. They sacked Van Gaal after an FA Cup final win. Glazers 2.0 would have been to sack Ten Hag. It's not Glazers 2.0 to keep him. That's something new. We've never done this before. We've never had a pile-on with a manager where there is a demand for him to be sacked, where players have turned on him, where the media have turned on him, where some fans are very, aggressively against him. That's always been the ticket to the sack. INEOS not sacking Ten Hag is not Glazers 2.0. It's actually the alternative, less trodden path that we craved. You can't call them Glazers 2.0 because they kept Ten Hag. That's completely opposite to what the Glazers would have done, and the evidence is there over the last 10 years. It was making me laugh last night when the people who didn't get what they wanted were calling INEOS Glazers 2.0. Since when have the Glazers ever listened to fans? Since when have the Glazers not sacked a manager and hung them out to dry? This is something new. This is something new from INEOS. This is a different way of doing things. This is the path less trodden. To stick with something that people believe in and listen to fans. I don't think they have listened to fans. I think that common sense has prevailed, that this was the right decision to make. So how can they be Glazers 2.0? When have the Glazers ever done something like this? Absolutely not. I've got some comments to read, but look, basically, Erik Ten Hag, new contract is going to happen. INEOS and Ten Hag spoke face-to-face about their decision to give him their backing. They now want to prove that backing by giving him a longer-term contract. There is a general belief within the INEOS, Manchester United and Ten Hag arena that there is so much that can be done. INEOS never swerved away from the fact that if they replaced Ten Hag, there was going to be major change around coaching, recruitment, medical. All those things are still going to happen. Ten Hag wants them to happen. There is going to be a lot of change at Manchester United, but Erik ten Hag will be at the forefront of that with INEOS. There will be a reduced, as we move into transfers, there will be a reduced role for Erik ten Hag because he did have a lot of power under his contract with Manchester United. Obviously, that will be diluted, but it won't be diluted to the extent that some people think he's just going to be a coach on the coaching ground and a yes man. He will still have and be consulted as part of the transfer policy, but obviously a lot more people. What will happen is what we need to happen. We will have a director of football or a board or whatever that can overrule the manager. So when the manager says, I want to let David De Gea go for free and spend £50 million on Onana, somebody will be there to say it's not going to happen if they don't want it to happen. And we need that. We need that sort of consultation because that happens at other clubs. So we do need that to happen. Absolutely. But Erik ten Hag will want this. He had this at Ajax. And Manchester United certainly do need it as well. Very exciting. And also to those people who say that Ten Hag will have no say in transfers now, you're talking out your arse. Look at the players we're about to go and buy. Look at the players we're about to sell. Jadon Sancho's gone. One way or another, he's gone. That's because Ten Hag doesn't want him as much as it's because the club might not want him. I think there's a number of players that we really need to look at now and say they're heading out the door potentially, and certain players are heading in the door. As I said, in relation to incomings, we've got a show at 2 o'clock where we're going to update the Hotometer, which is going to be really interesting because it will change. But I would say certainly keep an eye on Todibo and certainly keep an eye on Elise, which will happen very, very quickly. And certainly keep an eye on outgoings in relation to Mason Greenwood, which will happen very, very quickly as well. What I've heard about Elise is that Ten Hag really likes him. INEOS really like him. The failure to sort the manager situation out has opened the door to Chelsea, who are always very good and very aggressive at going and getting deals done. They tried to get Elise last year. They're a London-based club, and they've been very aggressive in selling players and trying to get the Elise done deal really quickly. In any other year, Chelsea win this, and they probably still do. But INEOS are brand new. And INEOS are doing things that haven't been done before. We've taken a CEO from Manchester City. We're taking a director of football from Newcastle. We're backing, not sacking a manager. So what chance that Chelsea are leading the race on Elise and we sweep in and get the deal done? I don't know that it will happen. But what I have been told this morning is that Elise deal is not done with Chelsea yet. And Man United may well swoop in and do something. Now, whether we've got the money to do that, I don't know. I'd still say Chelsea are favourites, but you have got to look at it and go, that could still be something that can happen, because what is very, very clear is that Manchester United are now set to move in this transfer market with ins and outs, and it's very, very important that we do, of course. Ecstatic with the Ten Hag news, says Patrick. Thank you very much. I want to make sure that so a lot of people in the chat this morning. Just look, I said it to you late last night. We were live at midnight still last night. I get and understand that people are very frustrated. I don't know why people have to make it personal. I really don't. I don't know why people have to get aggressive. I don't know why people have to get abusive. I suppose it's a lack of intelligence to be able to communicate in a mature way. But look, I get it. Not everybody's going to be happy. Welcome to the world. I get that. I just, as I said, probably get yourself on OnlyFans and start earning from screwing yourself, because that's what you're going to be doing for 2 months. We haven't got a game for 2 months. How's your Ten Hag out movement going to move for 2 months? You're just going to cause yourself internal damage, stress, high blood pressure. For what? You've got 2 months now where we're not going to play any games. You can't get yourself out there saying, look at his tactics, he's an idiot and all that lot. We're in now, and it's transfer zone. It's ins and outs. You're not going to get a manager sacked because he sells a player you don't agree with or he signs a player you don't agree with. You're just going to cause yourself inner turmoil. And if you are a Manchester United fan, please just take the time. A bit of therapy. Watch Man United when we used to win things. Go back and find shirts you had as a kid. Understand why you support this football club. Reignite the reason and remove the toxicity. Because I don't understand why you couldn't enjoy beating Brentford. I don't understand why you couldn't enjoy beating Coventry. Winning games with your team when you play shit is actually quite enjoyable. because it's still a win. So, find the joy, find the inner joy again, find the happiness, because you're just screwing yourself. For the next 2 months, you're screwing yourself. And also, if you start next season wanting us to lose games so that you get proved right about a manager, you're focusing on the wrong thing. You're focusing on yourself rather than the team that you're meant to support. Surely you want us to win the first 10 games, but I think these people probably don't, which is sad. Rediscover the reason that you love Manchester United. That would be my advice, because I know you're hurting. I understand that. And, I understand that when you lose, it's not very nice. But we need to start moving forward, I think, now. In relation to Marcus Rashford, there's a lot of people... Look, I'll talk about Rashford. There's a lot of people out there saying that Marcus Rashford may well leave Manchester United. It's very interesting what Ben Jacobs said this morning. Marcus Rashford doesn't want to leave Manchester United. He's taken a break from social media to focus on himself and come back for pre-season ready to go. I said a few weeks ago, I think Rashford will have a good season next season. Look, Man United are not looking to sell Rashford. Erik ten Hag has backed him probably more than he deserves to be backed, if I'm being honest. And Rashford has let down himself, the club, the manager and the fans last season. His performances weren't good enough. Off-field activity wasn't good enough. And his on-field persona wasn't good enough at times. The tracking back, the miserableness. Look, he's got issues he's got to work through. But the ball's in his court. It's not for United fans to go, Rashford, you're the best player in the world. It's not for Southgate to pick him for England. It's not, Ten Hag's backed him. The club have given him a massive wage. He, and only he, knows if he wants to stay at Man United. And if he doesn't like the fact that Ten Hag's staying, then he should put a transfer request in. If he doesn't like the fact that Ten Hag's the manager, he should ask to leave and do something about it. Otherwise, work hard, come back with a smile on your face, be the player you can be, and get on board with this movement. Because if you come back next season and you're miserable again and you're not performing, you're the one who's going to get the flack. It's on Marcus Rashford. And look, if he doesn't want to be here, leave. That's the message, isn't it? If you don't want to be here, leave. If you were hoping Ten Hag was going to get sacked, you lost. But we don't know that. What we do know is he doesn't want to leave. The club don't want to sell him. Ten Hag's backed him all the time. And the fans just want him to perform. And he didn't perform last season. So I don't think Rashford is a conversation unless Rashford wants to go. But player power's over. Player power is dead. Rest in peace to player power. Long live INEOS's new Manchester United. Because Ten Hag's part of that, but this is the INEOS build now. And I said, if they keep Ten Hag, I'll get behind it. And I will get behind it. But player power had to end. Marcus Rashford doesn't represent player power. Jadon Sancho doesn't represent player power. Paul Pogba didn't represent player power. They are just names that people attach to player power. Player power has existed at Manchester United for a long time. It's gone. It's over. If player power still existed, you sack Ten Hag and you empower those players that turned against him. Jadon Sancho obviously would be high profile in relation to that. He's going to be gone. He's gone. And there will be others that go as well. Player power is over. Player power doesn't exist at Man City. It doesn't exist at Arsenal. And they're the two best teams in the country. Player power is over. This is a committee. This is a board. This is whatever you want to call it. And players will not be attaching themselves to Barada or Blanc or Sir Jim or Sir David Brailsford and getting favourable treatment. It's over. You won't be going behind managers' backs anymore and undermining them, because if player power existed, Ten Hag wouldn't be here. The same that Rangnick's not here. The same Ollie's not here. The same Mourinho's not here. The same Van Gaal's not here. Player power is gone, and that is a good thing this Wednesday morning. We needed that. These players now have to get down, work hard, be consistent, or get out. And I actually am more interested. Well, I'm not. I'm very excited about players that are going to come in, and we'll go through the hot meter at 2 o'clock. But I'm very interested on the players that are going to go now. There will be players who are absolutely ecstatic this morning. As I said, the Garnachos, the Brunos, the Rasmuses, the Mainus, the Delos, those players will be very exciting. And funnily enough, they're the players we want to build with. There will be other players that aren't so sure. There'll be players that are going, I would have fancied my chances with a new manager. I might have got a new contract with a new manager. There'll be people on the fence going, you know, I've done okay with Ten Hag, but at times I've not been in the team. Look, I'm not saying these players are player power, but for me, Scott McTominay, Harry Maguire, both were up for sale last summer. Are they up for sale again now? Both did reasonably well last season. Have they redeemed themselves in Ten Hag's eyes, or are they surplus to requirements? You'd put Wan-Bissaka in that as well. Wan-Bissaka had a good season the season before last. Not so good this season. 1 year left on his contract. Victor Lindelof as well. At times he's been good. At times he's not been good. You know, there's 4 players there that I don't think are disliked by the fan base, but there's probably 80 million there. Do you cash in? Do you let them go? Jadon Sancho's a goner. Mason Greenwood, for different reasons, a goner. Donny van der Beek, Christian Eriksen, Martial and Varane have already gone. Brandon Williams is already gone. So there are a lot of players now that we can move forward on and make decisions on. We need to raise money. We need to start clearing out. Some of these players are, you know, Amrabat looked to me like he was done. Last few weeks of the season, does quite well. He was a player that Ten Hag liked. We've already paid 10 million. Do we play the next 15 million and keep him as a midfield option that sits on the bench? Really exciting where it goes from here. Look, somebody just said, I will talk about it. I mean, certain elements of the media are in a difficult position. If I was them, I would apologise. It's going to be very difficult for them to do that. Some people don't like to apologise. I would apologise and say, the club have made their decision. I'm a Manchester United journalist. I'm going to get behind this. And when I say they're a Manchester United journalist, their whole existence is around Manchester United. Access to press conferences, talking about Manchester United, writing about Manchester United. Their whole existence, their mortgage, their job is around Manchester United. Manchester United have made a decision. They might not like that decision. Are they going to continue to be toxic, or are they going to get on board? Very interesting to see what happens. Very interesting to see what the mainstream do. Look, in fairness to the likes of Gary Neville, Roy Keane, Paul Scholes, they were critical of Ten Hag, but towards the end of the season, they said, I would stick with Ten Hag. They've made their bed. They can go into next season behind that. You've lot have made your decision. Those things are going to be very, very interesting, but in many ways, they're irrelevant because they're not going to get, the negativity is not going to get any movement going for a long time, because for the next 2 months, it's about transfers, it's about ins and it's about outs, and it's about INEOS again, to be honest with you. How much of this is on Ten Hag now for the next 2 months? This is a great point. I've got so many of your comments to go through. This is a great point. INEOS have been scrutinised for the last 3 weeks on what they're going to do with the manager. They've made a decision. The majority are happy with it. But now they move to another challenge, because this is what owning Manchester United's all about. You don't come to a good decision and everyone goes, woohoo, you're great. And the next day, there's a challenge. You know, you wake up on a Sunday morning, Mason Greenwood's been arrested. You wake up on a Thursday morning, Rashford's not turned up for training, he's out partying in Belfast. You wake up the next day, there's a leak saying that the player that didn't play in the final wasn't injured. They're actually sulking because they didn't get picked. Welcome to Manchester United. Every day there's a drama. Every day there's a challenge. And you are always judged on your last challenge. Now for INEOS, it's about, yeah, you pick Ten Hag. What do you do in the transfer window? Because Erik Ten Hag doesn't control the budgets. He doesn't pay the wages. And he doesn't sign the players. INEOS do. So they're going from one big decision where they will get some praise into impatience of, right, it's time to go to work. And if in 2 weeks' time we've sold nobody and we've bought nobody, then the INEOS pressure is back on again. They employ the recruiters. They negotiate the deals. They decide who to sign. So look, for the next 2 months, it really is INEOS again. You've made one decision. Now what do you do around transfers? What's the budget? Who are you going to sell? How are you going to get the players that need to come into this football club? Who are they going to be? Really exciting. But again, it's all eyes on INEOS. And as I said, look, for me, it's reset. I said if they keep Ten Hag, I will ignore what's happened with Ashworth. I'll ignore the, longevity of the decision over the manager. For me, this is day one of the summer transfer window, which is all I wanted to focus on anyway. I want lots of players out and I want lots of players in, and it is achievable, but we've got to hit that ground running and we've got to get on with it. How do they do that when Dan Ashworth isn't even the director of football? When Jason Wilcox only just came into the club? How much involvement will Barada have? Can Blanc help out? There is so much to get involved in, but like Terp says, it's time to get busy. Tracy says, I'm a United supporter and happy Erik ten Hag is staying. John says, it doesn't matter on name of the player. It's about time we weed out players who don't want to play for this club. We need to make cultural changes, says John. Ray Gard has been a member for 15 months. You're a legend. Erik ten Hag should ban every journalist that leaked the news of his sacking ahead of the FA Cup final, says Muyad. Mate, look, I've seen certain journalists this morning arguing that they didn't say he was going to get sacked, but most of them did say that he was under extreme pressure. And to be honest with you, most of them were slagging him off from March until May. You know, some of them did get banned from press conferences. I think they all need to do better, really. But rivals bantering us for keeping Ten Hag are scared shitless of what we can achieve with a good structure above him and the right players behind him, says 90. Look, rivals slagging us off about keeping Ten Hag, or, you know, the minority that wanted him sacked, I'll keep saying to the same thing I've said for 8 months. Who did you want to replace him? You know, moaning about not sacking a manager but then not having a solution is just hilarious. It's absolutely hilarious. You know, who was it you were going to sack him for? Like, we still don't have the name. Who were you sacking Ten Hag for? They won't give the name. Just INEOS are Glazers 2.0. Well, they're not. The Glazers would have sacked him and would have ended up with someone shit. The INEOS have done completely opposite of the Glazers. And if they had sacked him, who would it be? What do you think about Kirkez for left back, says Mbappe boy? Look, Kirkez is playing in the Euros. He's had a good season for Bournemouth. I personally don't think we're going to sign him. I know he's been mentioned. I just think he's a name who's a left back that would like to come to Man United, but I don't think we'll sign him. I actually think there are other left backs that we will go for. I think he'd be too expensive. The summer is important, definitely, but litmus test is January. If we are there or thereabouts, then there is backing for once to push that new, says Glenn C. Mark, what do you think about some of the media saying that the vultures will be circling and Southgate could still be manager of Man United by Christmas? I don't agree. I don't agree. I think the important update is that INEOS have made a major review. They've took a very long time. And if they sack Ten Hag before Christmas, they make themselves look incompetent, because what was the review about? So the review meant nothing. Basically, if we have a few bad results, you'll sack him. That would make a mockery of their review. I also think the fact that it's come out that they believe in Ten Hag and they want to work with him would make a mockery of sacking him so quickly and make them look stupid. And third and most important of all, the new contract they're going to give him would make them really stupid if they sacked him within a few months. I think this is a long-term decision based on a long process. So my understanding is that the fact that it's taken so long for INEOS to come to this decision reflects that they will give Ten Hag a long time and a lot of backing. So even if we did have a couple of bad results, they would still come out and say, look, we believe in this guy. We've took the time. We've looked at the alternatives, and this is the one we want. I would look at it like this. If they brought in Kieran McKenna and he lost a few games at the start, they wouldn't sack him because it's their guy. I don't think you need to look at it like Ten Hag's on thin ice. I think certain people will try and pretend that's the case, but the decision that INEOS have made has been made on a very, very, very long process. And what they're saying is, this is the guy they believe in, that they want to work with for the next few years. So I don't think he's gone by Christmas. I really don't. And I think the contract will reflect that. And I know that will upset people. And I know the media will be there with their call-ins from day one as soon as we lose a game. But I don't think they're understanding what's actually been decided. And I don't think they understand the process. And I don't think they understand that actually, even if we did lose a couple of games next season, the majority of this fan base isn't going to say, sack the manager, because as a fan base, the majority of us have made our choice. I mean, I read a tweet this morning where somebody said, INEOS have made their choice, wasn't the decision I would make. Hopefully they've got it right and Ten Hag can build something. And I felt like replying and saying, hold on a minute, you're the minority, mate. What do you think we've been all talking about for the last few weeks? What do you mean? Hopefully INEOS have made the right choice and everything comes right. This was the choice we wanted. They've not made an outlandish decision. They just haven't made the decision you wanted. The majority wanted this decision because they believe in it. And it's not about INEOS have made the wrong one, so let's all pray. Like, not for a lot of us, they've made the right choice. Why are we speculating Rashford doesn't get on with Ten Hag as United won? Because we live in a world of speculation. He's had a bad season. He's not always been picked by Ten Hag. He hasn't looked happy on the pitch. So people will put 2 and 2 together and say Ten Hag didn't like Rashford. But where has that ever come out? You're absolutely correct. Is there any excuse not to sack him if we finish 5th, says Robert? Well, I think I've just given it you, Robert. Like, this is a long-term project now. It's a long-term contract. It's INEOS's guy. So why would you sack him if he finishes 5th? I mean, it depends what we do with the summer transfer window, Robert. I don't think you can look at that United squad and say that we've got any divine right to finish 4th. I saw some people saying the minimum expectation next season is 4th and a cup. What? Because you wanted Ten Hag sacked? Like, do you watch this football club? At what junction do you think that squad should be finishing 4th and winning a trophy? I don't see it. The summer transfer window will define that. What about that team makes you think we're the 4th best team in England and we should be winning a trophy? And also, can we stop pretending that a trophy is like an add-on? Like, you know, when you order your Big Mac meal and you just boost it up to large fries instead of regular. Oh, do you want to pump your milkshake up to an extra large from a large? Yeah, go on. Why not? Winning a trophy ain't like pressing a button. Where's Arsenal's trophies in the last few years? You don't just go 4th place in a trophy as the minimum we're going to expect. It's hard to win a trophy. It's really hard to win a trophy. I don't know why people think the Carabao Cup and the FA Cup are just nice to haves. Then this is not easy to do. I think 4th place is the expectation next season. A trophy would be nice, but there's no guarantee. It's not easy to win trophies. It isn't. Not in the current climate. You can't just walk into a season and say, well, at least we'll win a Carabao Cup. Man City take the Carabao Cup serious. Liverpool take it serious. They definitely take the FA Cup serious. The Premier League ain't easy to win. So winning trophies as a demand, otherwise you're going to get sacked, is hilarious. Who sacks managers when they win a trophy? Oh, hold on a minute. The Glazers. Fantastic news. Bring on the clear out. The medical department must have changes. Bring on the new dawn. You know what, Stuart? I want momentum. I want positivity. And also, I think that one of the big things we need is Manchester United absolutely not picking up any injuries. I've just seen as well, Beth put a tweet out last night saying my manager and Garnacho liked it. So, you know, I think we know what Garnacho thinks about Eric Ten Hag staying as well, which is great to know that the players are, you know, behind the coach, which is absolutely fantastic. I'm delighted. Hopefully the team above him can start ASAP, says the Hughes lad. And William Green says, hi, Mark. With Ten Hag staying, would you go buy Amrabat as well after the last 5 games of the season, then get Todibo done? Well, I'll run a poll on that. I mean, look, this is the world we're running into now. I mean, after this morning, I don't really want to talk about toxicity, Ten Hag out, INEOS, anything like that. I want to move on to, and at 2 o'clock, don't miss the show. It's a live show with me. It's a Hotometer update. If you don't know what the Hotometer is, you're in for a big surprise. But look, these are the sort of questions we need to ask. And we'll be going through this a lot. Amrabat stay, Amrabat go, basically, is going to be your morning poll. If I can get my fingers working here. Make sure you subscribe to the channel as well. Bottom right-hand corner. It's going to pop off like a bottle of pop now over the next few days. Trust me. We're getting all sorts of stuff coming in. Hi, Mark. With 10... Yeah, Amrabat get voting. Is the Greenwood to Juventus deal a done deal? Levi, look, this is a great point. It got lost last night. Juventus are very close to signing Mason Greenwood. there was some association with Fabrizio, which I can't actually find where he said it, but Di Marzio has certainly said it, and you've got to be careful about Di Marzio. I mean, I don't like to do this, but I said it at the time. Di Marzio dropped out that Ten Hag was losing his job no matter what. He did. And I said at the time, Di Marzio's very good around Italian-based transfers, but why would he know that we're sacking Erik Ten Hag? It never made sense, and obviously it never came to pass. But there is... I said a couple of weeks ago, I think Greenwood goes to Juventus, because I think that's the best option for him. He's done La Liga, and Barcelona don't really have the money. Atletico Madrid is an option, but I think Juventus is the bigger move and the bigger club. So it appears that he's going to go to Juventus, and this is a deal that could get done very, very quickly. Now, the prices being mentioned are in euros, so euros ain't pounds. 30 million euros is what Juventus want to pay. Manchester United want 50 million euros. So you're talking about 25 million or 45 million. What I think Mason Greenwood is worth is 35 with add-ons. So I think that there needs to be a bit of negotiation there. Mason Greenwood can't be going anywhere for 25 million quid. It's not enough. Like, I know that there is baggage, but that baggage doesn't exist in Europe. Like, it doesn't. Juventus are a massive club. They're not thinking about, you know, what happened with the court case. They're not thinking about that. They're not thinking about that in Madrid, with Atletico Madrid. These things are not going to be an issue for Greenwood. They would be in the UK, obviously, but they're not there. So there can't be a deduction for that. Also, he does have 2 years left on his contract because we can extend another year. So I think that 35 million with add-ons is exactly what United need to do. And what I would do as well is, people might not agree with this, I would want 35 million for Mason Greenwood. I want add-ons that take it up to about 60. And I want some sort of sell-on. And I also want a potential first refusal. So I think you construct that deal in a way that keeps paying Man United, because if he goes to Juventus and he scores a lot of goals, how much do Napoli want for Osimhen? 120 million. So if we give Greenwood to Juventus for 35 million and he does well and they sell him on for 80, then we want another 20% of that, which is another 20 million, isn't it? And if he scores loads of goals for Juventus, we want add-ons where we get another 5-10 million as well. So that's what we've got to look at. And also, we want a first refusal, because you never know what the world's going to look like in 2 or 3 years, do you? What's crazy is that the fans that wanted Ten Hag gone will spend the whole of next season hoping the team does bad. They're screwing themselves, mate. May as well get T-shirts with OnlyFans on. As I said, we can't tell people how to think. And there'll be some people in the chat who are thinking exactly that. They're going to be very angry. They've got to go through the process. But as I told you last night, I didn't want Ten Hag to get sacked. If we'd have got Southgate, I would have been Southgate out. If we'd have got Pochettino, I didn't want him. I would have said it will end in tears. But there would have been a point where I would have had to gone, look, I can't live my life just moaning. I've got to get behind it. And I certainly wouldn't want Man United to lose games. So, yeah, I don't really get what the frustration is going to do for these people, because you're not personally going to be... I mean, I don't really want to talk about this, but look, if you are angry and you did want Ten Hag out, ultimately, what are you angry about? Nobody is out there making videos about you going, ha ha, look at you, you're an idiot. Man United are winning and you're an idiot. You wanted this manager to get sacked. Ha ha, you're a massive idiot. No one's doing that. If Man United start winning, you can be there with your United top celebrating United winning. So that's my point. Like, as a Man United fan, you wanted Ten Hag to get sacked. He didn't. Just park it and get on with supporting Man United. What does it matter? Why do you need to cling on to that? There's a new season. New players are going to come in. Players are going to get sold. Why cling on to that? And you're clinging on to it because it's about you being right. It's not about Man United. Just park it away and get on with enjoying it. There might be something else that you can focus on. Maybe there'll be a player that you don't like or something like that. But I don't see the point in I told you so FC. What's the point? And if we did lose our first 5 games of the season and he gets sacked, so what? He'll get sacked, a new manager will come in, and what are we all meant to do? Oh, you were right, you were right. You're still not going to be the CEO or the manager. You're just going to be a fan that had an opinion. And that's all we all are. We're just fans with opinions. We don't have any sway. We don't run the football club. The only thing that binds us is the fact that we love this football club. And therefore, part of love is to support it. And I just think that you're in for a very long 2 months if you're going to be bitter and twisted because you didn't get your own way. Look, on Christmas Eve, INEOS did a deal with the Glazers. I never wanted it. I wanted a full sale. I wanted the Glazers out. And yet here I am, happy, supporting that ownership, hoping that we can be successful, because there's just no point in holding on to that bitterness because I lost. I didn't get what I wanted. So I park it and then get on with supporting the team. What would make a successful transfer window for Ten Hag? His only Pokemon. Well, look, as I said, Jack D is ecstatic with the news. As I said, this is going to get really exciting now. This is going to be so exciting. Like, we are literally going to work today. We have made the decision about the manager. Conversations have already taken place around players, around exits. INEOS and Ten Hag and Wilcox and Barada and Blanc already know what players they want and what players they want to get rid of. If Ten Hag had been sacked, we may well have still gone for the same players. We may well have still got rid of the same players, but there would have had to been a discussion period with the new manager just to make sure. Because if you bring in Thomas Frank, he might say, no, over my dead body, do not sell Wan-Bissaka. He's perfect for my system. So that would have been why we've not moved forward on sales and purchases, because although we've done all the work, there might have been a bit of tweaking if a new manager comes in. We now know the list of players to get rid of and the list of players to buy. It's go to work time. There's nothing stopping us now. But it is all eyes back onto INEOS, because now it's like, okay, you've made your decision. And it's not a Glazer decision, because the Glazers would sack the manager. So now we're into a transfer window. Is it going to be Glazer-esque, or are you actually going to get rid of the deadwood, bring in players that look like they're lost? And as I said, keep an eye on the Elise deal, because it could be here we go to Chelsea in the next 24 hours, or it could be United are amazingly back in the race. I don't know, but that's the world we operate in now. We've just made a decision that the media and some fans didn't think would happen. If we transform that to transfers, it's going to get very, very interesting. Annoying thing is that Ten Hag outers are still looking at it and adding deadlines for the new season. Let's see where we are in December. Why would you want your team to fail? Don't get it. Patrick, I'll tell you again. If people, OnlyFans FC, are screwing themselves on a fake ideology that if we lose a couple of games, he's going to get sacked, you're not listening. The whole process that frustrated everybody was about finite detail. They have gone through everything over a very long period of time and chosen the guy who manages Man United. A couple of losses before Christmas is not going to change their mind, especially when they give him a lucrative new contract that will be very expensive to sack him. They are backing Ten Hag. They are going with him on a project. They won't swerve away from it because of 3 or 4 months. They won't. Look, I'll admit, if we lose 10 games in a row, he's probably gone. But 4 or 5 losses before Christmas, I don't think it will be enough. I really, really don't. What do you think about João Neves? I'll talk to you about him at 2 o'clock. Did you sleep without Southgate nightmares, says Ollie. Look, a little bit like parking the whole story about Ten Hag in out. I'll acknowledge the Southgate stuff was just really weird. Really weird. I mean, Fabrizio Romano has said Southgate was never a realistic option. Ornstein has said the same. They know more than I do. But in March, there was a lot of noise around Southgate and discussions. And consistently, Southgate was linked around Manchester United. Dan Ashworth, Sir David Brailsford, I think Sir David Brailsford had Southgate at his birthday party. Like, they like Southgate. And INEOS admire Southgate. And Southgate might leave Man United, might leave England this summer. So there's no smoke without fire, but thankfully it never really got going, because that to me would have been, game over. Stick says we've got a great decision. Let's get on with transfers. We're winning the league, says Ten Hag. Now that we have a manager in place, how is Elise? Well, we spoke about that. Mai says, how can Chelsea afford to buy players when they have to sell not to be in breach of financial fair play? Because they can sell, mate. I mean, there's some player that Aston Villa want from Chelsea now that I've never heard of from their youth for 30 million. They've got Broha going to Everton for 30 million. They've got Gallagher going to Villa for 50 million. That's 80 straight away. They've got Hall at Newcastle. That's another 30. I mean, they've made 110 million without blinking. That's how Chelsea buy players, because they're going to sell a lot of players. Daniel says, I reckon we have a similar season to Ten Hag's first. I'm absolutely convinced next season's going to be a good season, because I just think last season was a blip, a jinx, and we still won an FA Cup. I think next season will be a good season. We're not winning the league. We probably don't finish top 3, but I think we'll get ourselves well into the top 4. Garnacho will be better. Rasmus will be better. Mainu will be better. There'll be another young player or two coming through. There'll be new signings. Anana will be better. Martinez hopefully will be fit. We'll have a left back. We'll have another striker option. Like, all these things are going to be more points, more points, more points, more points. And we weren't actually that far off 4th place anyway. We were about 8 points off 4th. All those things are going to make the ship higher. And also, galvanising, it's step up or step out, isn't it? When the ownership stick with the manager, as I said, there'll be a few WhatsApps going on between players going, bloody hell, what does this mean for us? They will be waking up this morning powerless, and they'll be going, right, this is not the club it was. I either get on board and work hard, or I get out. Because I tell you what's not going to happen next season. Leaks about having to train when it gets dark, or leaks about having to run too much, you're gone. So David Brailsford ain't going to stand for that. This is a guy that's built a reputation on, fine margins, on extra 10%, on peak physical fitness. They ain't going to listen to leaks coming out about having to run too much or having to train in the dark. Those days are gone. So as a player at Man United now, it's step up or step out time, isn't it? Elliot says, I'm happy with the news, but unfortunately I've had a hard time believing and thinking anything we will do in the summer, both in and out. Look, Elliot, this is where it all starts. 2 o'clock today, we're going to do we're going to update the Hotometer. Got some very interesting new entries, and there's a bit of a change around the top. But you're right. This is for me now the cut-off point. Leave the moaners with what they've got. Leave the toxicity and the negativity where it is. I hope those people can move past it. Otherwise, they're in for a very, very long and upsetful summer. We want to see unity. We want to see people getting behind the club now. Look, I know there's a lot of uncertainty around Dan Ashworth and Barada and INEOS. I can only speak for myself. I'm not going to be a hypocrite. There are things that they've done that concern me. I don't like the amount of people that are going to lose their job at United as well. Good people, because we need to save money because of the debt the Glazers put us into. They are moral issues that I don't like. But in a football sense, I said if they back Ten Hag, then they're making a decision that I didn't expect them to make. So I will give them time. But in very, very simple terms, time in football doesn't actually exist. It doesn't. So we can't dwell on this appointment and go, yeah, you can bathe on that. Off you go to Benidorm. Realistically, it's Wednesday morning. By Friday night, we need to really be... And I'm not saying it will happen that quickly, but ideally, by Friday night, we need to be moving on a couple of deals. In and out, we need to be like, look, we're not going to be going, here we go, to Debo on Friday night. I don't think that's going to happen, but he's not in the Euros. He's owned by Nice. INEOS owned Nice. Ten Hag wanted him last summer. He's not very expensive. let's get moving. And look, he probably doesn't hold the shirt up until early July, but you've got 2 weeks to go. Personal terms agreed, deal done, here we go. You know, all these stages of a transfer can start kicking off now, because honestly, we're not even at the first hurdle of a transfer, and we know this. There is, you know, initial talks, personal terms agreed, talks with the club, deal done with the club. Fabrizio goes, here we go, and then a few days after, official, holding up the shirt. So this can be a 2-3 week process. Let's get moving with that. You know, this is what we know. This is what we've done for 10 years. This is where, as a community, we are the goats, because we've done it for so long. We've spoken about signing Schneiderlin and Schweinsteiger and Di Maria. We know these deals. We know how they work. We've not been working on them because of the manager situation. It's now time to start kicking, you know, putting the foot pedal to the ground and let's move. Ananth, welcome to Members Club. Eric Ten Hag had a Sir Alex moment after winning the Cup, says Benson. Any chance McTominay and Maguire leave? 25 million each, says Devil by Red. I think they're two players to keep an eye on. I mean, I was always told that McTominay won't leave. And remember, McTominay's not going to be talking about leaving until August, because the Euros, and then he's going to have a couple of weeks off. So I don't really think McTominay will go. I was told in late February that Bruno, Rashford and McTominay won't go. I think McTominay should go. You know, I don't see him playing a lot of time next season in a Man United team that needs to evolve. I think he'll be a bench option, and, you know, what sort of bench option is he in a team that wants to play a certain way? I think I would go if I was McTominay. Maguire, again, if we make the centre-back signings we need to, he's probably going to drop down to fourth choice centre-back behind Todibo, Branthwaite, Martinez, if we get the two centre-backs in. So, you know, I think there's... And also there's an age thing with Maguire. He's missed out on the Euros. He's 31. If he wants to go to the World Cup, which is probably unlikely if Southgate leaves, he needs to play 2 years of, you know, first-team football. He won't survive England like he has done the last 18 months where he's not really in the team. If Maguire wants to play for England, he's going to have to leave. So I think these are not toxic conversations. These are the conversations that we need to have, and Man United need to have, because these are project decisions as well. I think Bruno Fernandez potentially leaving Manchester United was based on the fact that he thought there was going to be another reset. And at 29, heading to 30 in 3 months' time, you can't hit ground zero again. I think if Man United had gone with Kieran McKenna, I think Bruno Fernandes would have said, I want to go. Because I think he would have said, I can't afford a rebuild. I'm 30. Whereas I think with Ten Hag, he would look at it and go, we've had 2 years, we're building something. By year 3 or 4, we might actually compete for some, you know, more trophies. So I think you've got to look at things on a project basis as well. Casemiro we haven't mentioned, of course. The problem was the first season Eric Ten Hag did so well that everyone had too high expectations for last season. We will have a very positive season next season, says Trey. Eric Ten Hag always in, says Craig. Would you sacrifice Elise and Frimpong for Neves, says Bartek. I mean, it's a very intelligent point, because you might have to. If you go for João Neves, then the price is going to probably stop you doing other things. Yeah, I wouldn't disagree with you on that one. Let me just have a quick look. There's a few bits coming in. Fabrizio has said about the contract situation that it's already advanced on a new contract. All parties are in agreement, are happy to sign it and continue the project, and INEOS want to give him total trust for the future, which is why people need to stop talking about he'll be sacked by Christmas or anything like that. You've got to understand what this process was all about. Yeah, definitely think so. It'll be a longer term thing. There has also been talk that Sir Jim Radcliffe was swayed by the cup final win. That United, this is from Chris Wheeler, swayed by the cup final win, impressed by his dignity, empathy for injury problems. Yeah, look, I think I said this last night, the way that Ten Hag has conducted himself in very difficult circumstances, he's been hung out to dry. Where's the support been for him from the club? You know, obviously that's all very, very true, and it should be admired, of course. But I think that I think with regards to the FA Cup final, personally, I don't think the FA Cup final should have had any bearing on what happens. But on the other hand, I think it probably did. What I think should have happened is we should have already known we were keeping him before the FA Cup final because of the injury crisis, because of the problems that last season presented. I think it was I think it was a false season, and I think we should have already decided to keep Ten Hag before the FA Cup. But if they were thinking about sacking him before the FA Cup, I can understand why the FA Cup made a difference, because what we saw in that FA Cup, and one game should never change your mind, but what we saw in that FA Cup was a manager take on the best manager in the world, tactically outdo him with a team that was weak and not really that fit and had key players missing, beat them, a fan base that was completely and utterly behind that team and that manager. It was a galvanising victory, and it was a glimpse of what we can achieve, because not many managers can do what Ten Hag did to Pep Guardiola, especially in that first half. So I think I can, it may have changed the minds. People will argue it shouldn't have changed their minds. I would argue it shouldn't have been, they shouldn't have had their mind made up to sack him before it. But when you look at that FA Cup final, that there was a lot about it that meant that sacking him would be a massive mistake. And maybe before the FA Cup final, they were very much thinking of doing it. And after the FA Cup final, there was a lot of things that went on in it that made them think, are we making a mistake? Because as a performance, it wasn't like when Wigan beat Man City. It was a deserved performance that was tactically astute. And the players played for the manager and the club. So we haven't always seen that, have we? Stuart Baxton, welcome to Members Club. Thank you very much. 77% of you would now keep Amrabat. Have they dragged out Ten Hag to make sure we can't buy until early July for FFP, says Sean. Well, we won't be buying before July now anyway. This financial football year ends at the end of July, at the end of June, and we won't get an official deal before July now anyway, because holding the shirt up, new kits, new financial year won't happen until early July. But we can get here we goes, I think. Steve says, me and my son Dawson are huge fans and love all the content. Can I get a shout out for his 10th birthday? Big shout out to Dawson. Happy birthday, mate. Thank you very much for that. Thank you very much for the support. Ananth, welcome to Members Club. Look, I want to say it. I said it to you all last night. We've had nearly 2,000 likes. Make sure you subscribe and get your notifications on. 2 o'clock's going to be a great transfer show. The Hotometer is coming back. It's refreshed. It's new. There's new information that we've got to bring you as well around a couple of players. Very excited about that. We're moving forward with positivity. All I would say with open arms is all is forgiven to all the toxic people. We are Manchester United. This is a new dawn. Please come with us and stop the negativity, because it's not going to do you any good. We don't need to hate. We don't need to be abusive. We don't need to be aggressive. Let's just get behind this football club and you might hope, some of us believe, I truly believe we're heading in the right direction and next season will be a good one. Even if you don't believe, come with us with hope and be positive, because I think a positive thing is about to happen at Manchester United. I genuinely do. And if I get it wrong, I get it wrong. But I genuinely think we're heading towards something positive. I think this is going to be good for us. I look at Chelsea. I think they should have kept Pochettino. I think they had momentum. I think they were building something and they got rid of it to start again. I think we've made the right decision. I think sticking with something that we've got, and I think Newcastle as well with Eddie Howe, I think Man United and Newcastle are going to do better than Chelsea, because we've shown patience and a determination to follow a project through instead of keep stopping and starting. I don't think Chelsea's way of doing things is a good way. I personally think if Michael Olise is thinking about signing for Chelsea or Man United, I'd sign for Man United, because Man United have just shown a project. Man United have just shown that they, actually want to build something, whereas at Chelsea in the last 2 years have sacked 4 managers. I think this is a positive for us. Let's see what happens. Ryan says, I would use Maguire in a deal for Branthwaite and use Lindelof in a deal for Todibo. I think Wan-Bissaka in a deal for Branthwaite would be good as well. I think he'd be perfect at Everton personally. But there we go. Thanks everyone for watching. I'll see you at 2 o'clock. Don't miss it. It's time to start the transfer mayhem. Let's go. Take care. Speak to you all in a bit. And also, thanks everybody. I know it's been tough. I felt it over the last few months. It's not just the last few weeks. The last few months have been hard. You know, the Ten Hag out movement, the Ten Hag in movement, it's been divisive. It's been, you know, it's been draining. At times, it's been aggressive. It's been horrible. You know, some of the things that have been said about Ten Hag, you know, we've had to sadly part ways with people because of some of these things. It's not been good. And I hope that everybody can go and grow in a more positive way now that a decision has been made, because it's been horrible. It really has been horrible. And, you know, I thank everybody who's part of this community, that we hopefully have come out of it now and we can start moving forward, because ultimately there is going to be collateral when people have very expressive and different opinions, and that's just the way it is. So thank you everyone. Thanks everyone. Take care. Speak to you all at 2 o'clock. It's going to be a good one.